Have you ever heard the chilling tale of white Europeans captured and enslaved in foreign lands for centuries? Greetings everyone. Today, we're unraveling the hidden history of white slavery, a period spanning from the early 16th to the late 18th century. We'll explore the role of Barbary pirates, the harrowing experiences of the enslaved, and the shocking involvement of Europeans in this trade. From the shores of Iceland to the slave markets of North Africa, we'll uncover the lives and struggles of these forgotten captives. If you find this video interesting, please support us by hitting the like button. Now, let's get started. Barbary pirates, Muslim and Turkic pirates, from the 16th century onward, used the North African coast, Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli as their hideouts. They mainly captured merchant ships at sea, and raided European countries along the Mediterranean coast. They would then take white European Christians living along the coast and sell them as slaves. Nevertheless, these pirates targeted ships of all nations, and took them without regard to race, nationality, or religion. As their operations became increasingly profitable, the pirates' activities expanded significantly, and their plundering escalated to a frightening extent. They began to raid coastal villages in England and France. They began capturing all the villagers and selling them on the big slave markets in North Africa. On a morning in July 1627, on the beautiful island of Heimaey in Iceland, the islanders spotted 3 suspicious ships. The islanders gathered in a large pavilion for protection. However, by sunset, the pirates had already left. Initially, the islanders believed the ship was friendly, but the unfolding events proved otherwise. At ease, the islanders went back to their respective homes. However, the decision they made at that time would change the lives of the people for the rest of their lives. The next day, 300 soldiers from the ship landed on Heimaey Island. According to one pastor's account, they attacked the islanders with the ferocity of hunting dogs, howling like wolves. The pirates seized every man, woman, and infant on the island, young and old, and killed anyone who resisted. Their corpses lay everywhere. The pastor, the author of this memoir, was taken to North Africa along with nearly 400 other Icelanders, including his wife and 11-year-old son. From the port, they were divided into groups of 30 each, until they reached the large slave market in Algiers by land, where a Turkish man on guard carefully watched their surroundings. This is because in this lawless city where the pirates live, the town's inhabitants are always looking for opportunities to steal the slaves brought to them. The 11-year-old son of the pastor, who left the memoir, was bought by a powerful man in this rough town. After that, this pastor never saw his children again. Now, this is the pastor who had this experience. And in this series of incidents, to his surprise, he found a Westerner, who was supposed to be a fellow pirate, among the Turkish pirates. It raises the question: why would a European, a white man, join the Barbary pirates in attacking their fellow Westerners? Actually, in the 17th century, Westerners who had betrayed their homelands were joining the barbarian pirates because of one thing. It might be hard to believe now, but in the 16th and 17th centuries, Europeans gave their citizens a license to plunder foreign ships. This action effectively legalized brutal piracy. These ships are called privateers. They inflicted damage on neighboring nations, returning a portion of their loot to their home countries for profit. This practice was particularly prevalent in England. Among them was the model for the famous pirate, Captain Jack Sparrow, played by Johnny Depp in the popular Disney movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, was modeled on a Western pirate named Jack Ward, who was outlandish, fearless, and without any morals, and terrorized the Mediterranean. The idea of a man devoid of morals is still unsettling, even today. Despite being a Westerner, he was a Barbary pirate of Turkish descent who became very famous. He was born into a poor family in Kent, England, and spent his boyhood engaged in coastal activities, possibly as a tidepool hunter. Later, with Queen Elizabeth I's permission, he began brutally plundering Spanish ships. But in the summer of 1604, James I, who succeeded Elizabeth I, banned piracy, which had been legalized. Regretting the end of his piracy days, He longed for the lawless times he once thrived in. Thus, he decided to resume his life of piracy, joining forces with the barbarian pirates, including a notable figure named Azzy, and set sail for Algiers. Despite his lack of morals, or perhaps because of it, he rose to become a successful and notorious pirate in Algiers, living lavishly. Life of a white slave. Now, there are an estimated 1 to 1.5 million Europeans who were captured by Barbary pirates and sold in North Africa. What exactly happened to them? Many of them were sold into slavery in the slave markets of Algiers. The slave market was located on a wide boulevard, where sellers walked the streets shouting to attract the attention of customers. When they arrived at the slave market, they were stripped naked and inspected. Men were made to jump. This bizarre test was to demonstrate their physical strength for slave labor. If they did not obey immediately, they were beaten with sticks. They were also subjected to a hand examination. Soft hands meant a good life. So there was a possibility of getting a large ransom from the mother country. Also, their teeth were examined. This was a check to see if they could be put on a pirate ship and work as labor for the ship. You might question the relevance of teeth to rowing, but it's because the slaves were fed only hardtack biscuits, notoriously hard and difficult to chew. What was life like for slaves? Apart from hard labor as ship's laborers, they were in charge of heavy labor, such as quarrying stones and carrying them, working in chains on construction sites, and cleaning manure piles. In most cases, they were shackled and chained. At night, they slept on the cold stones of the slave huts. Young women were often bought for harems and then disappeared forever. In extremely lucky cases, they were kept by private individuals and became housekeepers. But these were few and far between. Their daily life was a harsh cycle of forced labor, sleeping on cold stones, and enduring mistreatment. However, among these slaves, English slaves may have suffered the worst. This is because those who had been enslaved and were from European countries had access to the assistance of countries with years of experience in combating Barbary pirates, and religious organizations established in the Middle Ages that supported them were also able to come to their aid. Britain, lacking a system to combat pirates, was woefully unprepared to prevent such attacks. Britain, strained by ongoing wars and plagues, lacked the necessary funds for effective anti-piracy measures. The lack of countermeasures meant that in 1625, more than 1,000 sailors were captured in England and around Plymouth alone. To make matters worse, the funds for anti-piracy measures were being embezzled by the upper echelons of the Navy. Further still, the government refuses to pay the ransom demanded by the pirates because it has no money. Charitable donations were collected from across the country to address this issue, but unfortunately, these funds too often became targets of embezzlement. However, 90 years later, the British Navy gradually became stronger, and also acquired Gibraltar and Minorca in the Iberian Peninsula after the War of the Spanish Succession in 1713. By the way, Gibraltar is still a British territory, with a strong navy and a stronghold in the Mediterranean. They were not only prepared for attacks, but they could protect their merchant ships, and the threat of possible enslavement was gone. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content. Take care and see you in the next video. Goodbye.